Come on. Okay. Okay, so how is everybody?
Well,
Good,
Windblown.
okay. So, and
Feels like
hi, Mary and Suzanne. So I've said hi to everybody. Does that, we have a new member, so let's first go around and just introduce each other and say what league, what's your local league is.
That's
So
right.
I'm Linda Hutchinson with an I, and I live in Larimer County. So Diana.
Diana Greer, and I'm changing my name here in a moment. I live in Larimer County since I graduated from CSU, but I'm from Cortez, the Cortez area, and I have a newspaper background.
Marion.
Marion Lilly from Larimer County, though I was raised in Thornton.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, Suzanne.
hi, I'm Suzanne Kinney, and I actually live in Windsor in Weld County, but I'm a member of the Larimer League.
I didn't know that either. I thought you lived in Fort Collins. See what you find out when you pay attention. Okay,
I'd like to live in Fort Collins.
well, Windsor's nice. Linda B.
I'm Linda Burrows, and I'm in the Larimer County chapter. I live in Timneth.
Okay.
Not
And
from here originally, but I've been here over 40 years now.
well, then that's good.
Yeah.
I think that counts.
Yeah.
Yeah, near
Um,
native.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, Kay.
I'm Kay Shaw, and live in Denver, and really pretty near downtown Denver, near the Botanic Gardens. And I'm involved with the Cheeseman chapter of Denver. Denver has 4 different leagues, if I'm right, Tony. Is that right? 4 or 5? Anyway,
Well,
near enough. One of those two. Anyway, and I am involved in this group because I had read about it about now, probably 3 years ago, and it just sounded like it was the thing coming up in the world, and boy, it's come up too much.
yeah.
Yeah. And Tony, did I catch you
Tony, no,
doing?
between bites, yeah.
Okay.
Tony Larson, and I live in Denver, and I'm in Cheeseman, just like Kay. So we're well represented, Kay.
Yes. And Kathy Marr? I'm not sure Kathy's at her desk right now. So, okay, so now that we have all introduced ourselves, I want to introduce our new member, Linda with a Y, Linda Adams. And Linda, tell us something about yourself.
Well, I moved to Loveland from Omaha, Nebraska, and last September. And I'm new to the area, but I have had a long time interest in politics. I'm still keeping up with some of the news coming out of Nebraska as well, but I'm enjoying my time here in Colorado very much, and I'm looking forward to my involvement with your group.
Good. Welcome. We always want new members looking for new ideas. So I think on the agenda I had the open meetings law, the team transparency, and then the local news policy coalition. But I wanted to first, Kay has an idea. She discovered something that I didn't know about, and she wants to tell us about it. So I'm going to move that to the top because she needs to leave early. So, do you want me to share my screen, Kay?
Yes, if you could, and I'll give you a background. Well, wait just a second. I'll give you get it ready, and I'll give you a background. Last week, Colorado Sun, which many of you take, had a Sunfest, and Sunfest is, they do it twice a year, and it's the opportunity for them to bring speakers in. And the last couple of years, they've been doing it at DU, and they do it for a full day. And I had the opportunity to attend last Friday, and at the session, I heard someone talking about there was a movie out there, a documentary out there, and it's and that they were going to bring it to Denver and have a showing of the documentary in June. And I thought it might be interesting for everyone here to know. So what we're going to do is show you what the content of it is, and then you can go in yourself and look at. There's about a 3-minute trailer about it. And it'll give you an idea on what my long-term goal, because I kind of always, as my husband says, you're always out there, not right here, is if it is good and we think it's worthwhile, that it might be something that we might think about getting for this committee, but that it be shared throughout the state with all the leagues and other groups. There is a way. I went online to see, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that afterwards, but what I wanted is trying to talk some of you possibly into coming to see it, to see if you think it's worth getting before we do anything. The focus is on journalism throughout the United States and what's happening to it. And so go ahead and pull up and I've just taken a couple parts out of the information, then you can go on the site. It's called Strip for Parts. When you talk about you strip a car down for specific parts. It was done in 2023. It won quite a few awards there in 23. I think there's either 4 or 5 awards that it won. And then it started being shown all over the country. It's been shown in 24 and 25 all over. And Colorado is scheduled to be on the 25th. So this tells you what it's about. And I'm going to let you read it rather than me reading out loud to your adults. I'll let you read a second. Oops, move whatever, make it bigger, please.
There. I need to leave the scroll bar or
Okay.
else.
Okay.
Can you read that? Can everybody
Yeah.
see that?
hmm
Okay. So tell me when you're ready to move on.
And having
while we're-
watched the trailer, what it really starts off with is talking. It really begins with what happened in Denver, and Denver being bought out, and then it talks about other places in the country, and while this is going to have so much effect on what's happening in the United States, and so then move on down a little bit more, please. And then for more details, you can go back up just a tiny bit. The one above it, just in bold. Now go up. For more details, you can go and see the trailer. Go to stripforpartsfilm.com, and that will show you everything that is, like I said, the trailer. And then in it has a whole bunch of information. That's their website. And so in their website, you will be able to find out where it's been shown all over the country. It will show you, first of all, some of the description I've given you, and then it'll talk about sites, future sites it's going to have. It talks about the process if you wanted to purchase it in any way and so forth. So then we go into, as you can see, on June 5th, it will be in Denver at, thank you, at 6:30. And that will be on East Colfax. That's where the tattered cover is. That's, the name I think has changed. But anyway, it's the film center that's there. Okay, move down to the bottom part, please. And leave up there. Okay, that. And it says, share this important story with your community, classroom, organizations, and ignite a conversation. The one in Denver, they are going to have the Oscar award-winning nominee director. He's going to be there to speak afterwards and talk in depth about this. If you want to have it in different places, they say contact them. I don't know whether they'd ever do it again for us, and that would be something to find out, or whether we would just lead it ourselves afterwards and based on, what we hear from him and so forth. But this time he will be there. And then the idea just about, so you have an idea. I said that I would be willing to help try to fund this depending on what level we wanted. They have what they call streaming for life. That means you'd always have it. Streaming for 3 years, streaming for 1 year, streaming for 14 days. And then they talk about if institutions of higher education use it. It's institutions use it. It's 295, libraries 50, community groups 125, and community colleges 125. So I think we would have to find out from them what where we would fit into this and what we might do. But I thought first we might want to watch it before we decided even ask anybody any questions about it. So that's what I would just like for someone to go. I'm planning to go, and anyone else who might want to go to come and help me make a decision whether we think it's something our group would value, and therefore would be able to share it with all the leagues in the state, and maybe even if different community groups. I'm thinking if we get it, it'd be nice to, one of the things they suggest, is do it at your library. So it might be something you had at a couple different libraries throughout, next year. And that might be another way to get our committee, to get more people on the committee, and for people to understand that there is a group working on this. So that's all I have to say. And then y'all can probably ask me questions about anything.
So I've had the thought that maybe if it's okay with you, we could put this announcement in the newsletter that comes out before the Memorial Day weekend on Friday. Send it to Jane or Katina, and maybe we'd get more people who could go to the screening. What do you think of that? Yeah, and then depending on what people think, I don't know if anybody here would be able to go on June 5th, but after we're done meeting today, I can put it in an email to the other task force members, because there are other members who live in the Denver area who weren't able to come to the meeting, and they might be.
Crystal, we want you too, because you're here, Jeffco.
Yeah, Crystal came in late. You want to introduce yourself, Crystal? Because we have a new member, Linda Adams. I'm looking at this to go to my other screen. Okay, so you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Crystal O'Neill. I currently work as an engineering marketer, but my history is I used to teach college English, so media literacy is really important to me. And I feel like it's a core of the problems that we're having is the lack of media literacy, people not being able to determine what's true, what's misinformation. And so I feel like this is a good niche for me. And I was actually like pulling up the Stripped for Parts stuff on my other screen and looking at, when it is, and I'm thinking about I think I can go to this.
Good.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
great.
And then I can put it in another an email to go out to the rest of the task force and see if there's anybody else who would be willing to go. And then maybe you all can share your okay. Let me take a step back. So if I put it in the newsletter, is this a fundraiser for Colorado Sun? Do you know?
Yes, and I could not find on it what the cost is. And so that's one thing we'll need to figure out. I did leave word with someone from there to talk to him that I'd met last week, and I left word saying that someone had talked about it last week, and I explained what our task force was doing, and that there might be a group of us that wanted to go, and I just wanted to find out, and she hadn't gotten back to me yet. So as soon as I know something about it, I will let you know, Linda, but I don't know, when Because they did not know the other day other than the date. That was all went at the, they didn't say the amount, they didn't say, they just said it's something coming.
I have it pulled up on my, like I said, I have it pulled up and it says they have a recommended ticket price of $10, but
Oh.
it is a free event. So
Okay.
you can choose
Thank
what
you.
you want to pay when you RSVP.
Okay, okay, well, that's great.
No, that's
Okay, so-
reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's plan to put something in the newsletter. You want to leave it to me? I'll just write
Yeah.
something short and
Take any of that you have there and just do whatever you want with it. Yeah, that's why I thought I'd put it in writing for you.
Okay, and then we have probably 2 people at least who are going to go from the task force, and then we can come back. And if you guys think it's a viable option to promote this throughout the league, then we'll go. Okay?
And just so you know, Tony and I have our Cheeseman Tower potluck that night, but it starts at 5, so I'm going to probably be there from 5 to 6, and then go over there at 6:30. But I will also talk to send a note out to see if there's anyone in the Cheeseman group, but you'll put it in the newsletter. But I was thinking specifically because that's our neighborhood.
Okay, so if there's anything you want me to add to the announcement that goes in the newsletter, let me know.
Just the amount, and I think it's better if everybody registers themselves, then we don't try to get it, that price range. It's not like we're getting a break, we need a break, So if everybody registers themselves. The only thing, if you do plan to go, I would like to know just so I could look forward to seeing you there, and maybe we could then talk about it after the presentation.
Okay, okay. So we could just say, for the task force members, when you decide, send us all an email, piggyback on an email, and let us know who's going. That it does, instead of putting a contact, unless you want a contact
Yeah.
in the newsletter.
No, I think that's fine. If it just comes
okay.
back, I don't think there'll be that many, but.
Mhm. Okay, so I'll
Thank
send
you.
something out to promote it, and I'll send something into the newsletter and to get it in this last one before the weekend. And then I'll send it in an email to the rest of the task force. Does that sound good to everybody?
Krista, where did you find the price on there? I was looking myself and I never could find it. What is it under? Up your sound.
You're muted, Crystal.
I know. I was getting my mouse over to my other screen.
Okay.
Yes,
Right.
but you have to go into the RSVP. Like if you're
Okay.
on the screen where you were showing like the 2 different options, there's an RSVP link. You go to that and they've got a little blurb there. And
You
then
might just put that because it might help people realize it's not expensive. It's not like a $50 or $75 event,
No, I'm gonna actually like screenshot the checkout and put it in the chat box so you guys can see, because they've got it set up like a sliding scale, because like you said, I think it is a fundraiser. So
Mhm.
you guys can kind of see that.
Thanks.
And Kay, I had a quick question. You said something about libraries. Was that, can you say more about that?
That was just on the suggestion about how much it would cost. That was one of the groups that they listed might show it. And I don't know about your library, but I know the Denver Library monthly has a set of programs that come out for the whole metro area. And I was thinking maybe if I could get it, I know I can't get it in June or July, but if I could get it somewhere in Denver again in August or September, that might be good. And once we know if we have it and how it would work, then we might be able to offer it, anywhere. And I've got to just figure out what the, where we're going to keep it, what we'll do, and that kind of stuff. But I'd be happy to work with whatever we decide. Is that enough, Suzanne?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did see something that it had been available on Canopy, but I went I don't have Canopy available. Our library cut their budget and you no longer can watch Canopy through your library card, which is crummy. Let me just say, because I used to use it all the time. But Loveland's library is. So anyway, and I couldn't find it anyplace else on streaming, so.
No, but it sounded like you had to buy the streaming because one of the options was, you know, as I said, streaming for life, streaming 3 years, 1 year, 14 days. And so,
Mhm.
but I
Okay.
think they're interested in getting it out there. So I think if they thought the league had any possibility of showcasing it, you know, and it may
Yeah.
be, you know, it might be just as simple as when we do something, we just charge that $10 fee ourselves every time. And then that goes to Colorado Sun or whoever the money goes to. And I don't know who that goes to. And that's something I would need to find more. But anyway. Because it is a commercial group that's made it. And I'm trying to think what's the name of it. I don't have it right in front of me. Is it New Guild or something?
Mm. Yeah, I can't remember.
Anyway, I think that's enough about it. I don't want to spend any more time, everybody's time.
Okay,
Okay.
alrighty. So, and Kathy Marr, am I disturbing your eating or do you want to introduce yourself? I didn't get to hear from you, but you're muted, so we can't
Yes.
hear you.
I have something going in the kitchen, so I keep running back and forth. So here I am, Kathy Marr. That's it. C'est moi.
She lives in Loveland, Larimer,
Yeah.
Loveland, sort of, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So the next thing I had on the agenda was about open meetings law. Okay, I'm gonna mess this all up. I know I am, but we now belong to the League of Women Voters of Colorado now belongs to a group called Team Transparency. And we meet to, our issue is that transparency is being curtailed in Colorado. It seems like every year they cut back on transparency in government. Last year, the General Assembly voted, they adopted, what they did was they exempted themselves from open meetings law and rewrote open meetings law for themselves. I don't know if you got to read the article I sent to you, but I can pull up, maybe share my screen again. So we are meeting and we're, okay, this group of collaborators that is transparency advocates throughout the state, like the Press Association, Broadcasters Association, Freedom of Information Coalition, Independence Institute, Common Cause, League of Women Voters, and I think ACLU, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen them at the meetings. They're meeting to take something through the title board that will be on the ballot in 2026 that will put transparency in the Constitution. And so transparency in government in the Constitution. So the League of Women Voters was picked to head the group that works on the open meetings law, because there's different components to it. There's open meetings law, Open Records Act, and Criminal Justice Records Act. And we've been asked to head the working group that would recommend a draft for what this ballot this ballot issue would say about open meetings law. And the other groups will work on the Open Records Act and the Criminal Justice Records Act. So I'm here to see, I wanted to see if you guys would like to have somebody come and speak to us about open records and open Colorado open meetings law. Do you think that would be useful? First, like I said, last year, the General Assembly passed Senate Bill 24157, which rolls back open meetings law only as it applies to the General Assembly. And what it does is it makes currently for everybody but General Assembly, it depends on how big your public body is, but 2 or 3 members, if more than 2 or 3 members are talking about an issue, it has to be an open meeting. And that means the meeting has to be announced and you have to take minutes and the public has to be invited to the meeting. Well, you can see from this, can you see my screen from this article? Okay, good. Under this new law, note a meeting will only be considered falling under open meetings law if it's a contemporaneous quorum. So that means right at that time, if there's a quorum present, then open meeting law kicks into effect. But that allows legislators, like this paragraph here, under Senate Bill 24157, notice will only be required for the legislature if a quorum is contemporaneous. And that will allow smaller group meetings, which are called serial or daisy chain meetings. That will allow those to take place, and they could conduct public business by having these daisy chain meetings of 3 people piggybacking on each other and making public business without us even knowing that they did it. Plus, it will allow moved any form of written communication, whether it was electronic or otherwise. It has to be covered by Open Records Act. So it moves everything. If you want to get their text messages or emails, you have to go file a CORA request. But you can't really file a CORA request if you don't know what they're talking about. And then they can use Signal, so the messages will disappear. And I'll send you the link to this article, but I also want to draw your attention to the website I'm taking it from, because it's Colorado Freedom of Information Coalition, and they have the Sunshine Law Guide on here, and they have a lot of other stuff, but I think it would be really worthwhile for you all to check it out. And so let me stop sharing and I'll put the article. But I was thinking, because we want to have a working group, if any of you want to be in the working group, but like I explained this really short and not very well, and somebody else could come and explain these open meeting laws a lot better. Would you like to invite somebody to come and talk about open meetings law at our next meeting? Do you think that would be valuable?
Well, what about Jeff Roberts? Isn't he the Freedom of Information Coalition guy? We haven't heard him in a long time.
Yeah, I would ask him, but I think he's
Busy?
trying to lessen his burden, but he could recommend somebody, I think,
Yeah.
you know. But if you guys thought that would be useful, we could invite somebody to talk about open meetings law.
Well, I think it would be useful, and I may be the least knowledgeable person on the topic, but it would be very valuable to me.
Okay. Okay, so I'll contact, what I'll do is I'll go through Jeff and just ask him if he doesn't want to come to the next meeting, and it will be a public meeting, so I'll advertise it for everybody else who is interested in coming, and they will explain it a lot more clearly than I just did, because I get a little tongue-tied, but I think they can explain it better than I can, so I know they can. So we'll see if we can work on a speaker on that for next time. Does that sound reasonable? Okay. And then did any of you have anything you want to bring up? Any concerns or anything you want to work on?
So
No,
this is
nothing like that.
this is Tony.
Okay,
And again, because I don't follow this issue that closely, perhaps you all don't know, I'm the task force coordinator. So I go to all the task force meetings, not all the time, but frequently. And to see that, you know, if there's any overlap or what could be done, so forth and so on. So my task force is environment. So, but I'm very, very interested in all the stuff that's going on here, and even more so now because of the terrible things that are happening. I don't quite understand who is buying up whom, and for newspapers and radio stations, and what is the relationship among them and with national people, entrepreneurs that have been buying up everything. So that's as much as I know about that. And I don't know, maybe all of you know a lot more than I know, but I would be interested in sorting that out.
yeah, so like who owns, which big groups own
Well,
all
and
the
I think that's
newspapers
a
in
little bit
Colorado?
that, Linda, I think that's a little bit that what will be in this movie or whatever. And I think it'll talk about some of those. And then I think the other thing is maybe after we do that, it might be appropriate to add any more specific things to Colorado. Because I don't know what, since I haven't seen it, I do not know what's in it yet. But that's kind of how they talk about it, is the idea, you know, that a few people are buying a lot of them, and the idea, part of it that I understand, it is so that they can you really just use it as a write-off. And so they really don't care a whole lot, and they're not going to put much money into it because, you know, why spend the money when you're really not expecting it to be successful? And so that's kind of a few things that I've heard. But anyway, I think it's a good point, Tony, and I think it's one we want to continue.
Yeah,
Did this
Okay.
start back a long time ago when we lost the Rocky Mountain News? Was this kind of the beginning? Okay.
I think so.
Do
It
you
was
all
that
remember
awful-
Bill Maher or Lehrer? Remember the Lehrer report
Mhm.
Mhm.
on PBS? He was warning us in the 90s that legislation was being passed in the United States that was allowing these big conglomerates to start just chomping up. And he said, this is going to be the he didn't, you know, he wasn't an alarmist, but he was alarming us. Saying, this has got a really bad future. You know, we need to do something about it now. And so here we are again, you know, 30 years later, and he was right.
And just a small example, but it's a very big example of this is in Houston, Texas. There used to be two papers. There's only one paper now. I mean, a city that size to not have an evening paper is unbelievable. And so, I mean, that's just one location I know, having grown up there. And I think it's just foreshadowing what's coming.
Right.
And you guys have all seen and this is not newspapers, it's television news, but the Sinclair mashup, of where they took like clips from, I don't know, like a dozen different local news reports, and so it's all these anchors and they overlay them and they are almost word for word identical. It's really creepy. And you're like, they've just been given scripts to talk about, and these are like the local news. This is who you're supposed to be feeling like this is independent. This is not just NBC News. This is my local station. They're supposed to be talking about local issues.
And the best example of that is Gannett. that we have. What channel is that here? I'm trying to remember because I know in Florida we have, I mean, most of our major
USA.
stations in Florida are owned by them. They own USA Today as well as
That's
the
right.
TV stations.
Mhm.
So when you consider then what happens to the USA Today, it becomes subsets all over the country. So we have both the newspaper and the local TV station.
I think it's Channel 9, isn't it?
I think so. Crystal, I forgot all about Sinclair, but isn't it where local people, when they do a national story, they got like a cookie cutter
Yes.
and it's all the same in all the different cities? They don't do anything to tweak it to make it like their
No,
own
nothing was
way.
It was
Okay.
creepy.
Right.
It was eye-opening and creepy.
Yeah, it is. I saw some examples of that I would say in
And
the
it's been
last
years ago that I saw them do this. It's been 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago.
So why are the local stations doing it? Are they fighting back
they're
or
all-
pushing back?
Probably not. They're corporate owners
Oh,
telling them, you're gonna have this story and you're gonna, cover these issues, the local control of the news is no longer local control of the news. And that's highly problematic.
unless it's a local story, local to your community.
Sinclair is probably still telling them, cover this, don't cover that. Cover
Oh,
this, don't
okay.
cover that.
Okay.
They're probably in control of every story that's being presented on your local news.
Mm.
That's too bad.
So
I-
does Project 2025 have anything to do with media and control of media?
Hope not.
Have you
I
seen some?
mean, I'm sure that they have their hands in that. How could they not?
That's what I
Like,
wonder.
We should probably look into that, Diana. That's a good idea. We should look into it.
They
Diana?
have their hands in
Who
everything.
I have not read it.
I mean, the Heritage Foundation has had their hands in a lot of cookie
That's
jars
right.
over the last, 30, 40 years. So
Mhm.
that they would be involved somehow in media operations. How could they not?
Mhm.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, Crystal, with Sinclair, because my husband's been in broadcasting for over 34 years. And, we talked about that with Sinclair and how they dictate how stories are reported.
And this is
Wasn't it just a few months ago, there was another resurgence of that kind of story with the identical news broadcast from Sinclair stations?
I mean,
And
there are-
I think it was just a few months ago, there was another round and they had some association with, what's his name? Can't remember the first name, Epstein, that's associated with the Trump campaign, and he's one of the advisors. So
Oh.
if he was he was involved in orchestrating those broadcasts for Sinclair. That's, you have the political party involved in writing those scripts, and that was fairly recent that story came out. I'm
That
glad
was-
you brought this up too. Thanks a lot, Crystal.
What
Just,
about
more to anxiety?
Yeah. One of the things I'm just reading here, who says, who owns the most local papers? The local newspapers owned in the United States in 2024 was Gannett had 310. And then you go down to the next item, it says, and in 2004, Sinclair staff was scrutinized by critics when it was publicized that nearly all of its recent campaign contributions went to the Republican Party. And then who owns most of Sinclair, and then they give names and so on. So it really is all tying back. And I have read a lot of 2025, and another piece of that is what you're watching the past 2 weeks on NPR and
PBS.
PBS and all of that. Yeah. Mhm.
Kyle Clark is a Denver news guy, and he's very outspoken and independent. I would be
follow him on
surprised.
Twitter.
Huh?
I follow him on Twitter.
But I don't know how come he doesn't get in trouble because he's very anti-Trump and he doesn't make a secret of it, although he doesn't use that wording. Everything he says is just, I don't know. I follow him on something, but I haven't seen his face lately. Maybe he got put in a dungeon. I don't know, but he is very independent. I would love to know his thoughts on it. Maybe I'll do a little bit of searching.
Well, CBS just is getting talking about paying off Trump so they can, because of what they said on 60 Minutes. It has to do with 60 Minutes rather than fighting it, just like ABC paid $15 million rather than fight this. And NBC could be right next.
Yeah.
Right.
Wasn't
I found
funding-
2 articles about, well, last night, my son watches I can't remember, it's on HBO, and he used to be on Jon Stewart's show, and I can't remember, he drops the
John-
F-bomb all the time. Who is
John
it?
Oliver.
John Oliver.
Oh, John.
Yes, and
yeah.
we watched John Oliver the other night.
He's
Last
HBO.
night.
He's his own
And-
show.
Yeah, and he did something on the FCC, the new head of the FCC. So I went looking for articles today, and here's one from Wired I put in here, and one from Politico, and he's the head of the FCC is Brendan Carr, and I bet he has stuff from Project 2025. I mean, I'm sure that's what he's following. He's breaking up mergers. I mean, not only is he going after like CBS and 60 Minutes, but their affiliates in other cities, small affiliates, radio stations. They go after them, and they went after a radio station in San Francisco when they were actually covering migrant arrests and by ICE, and they said that they were interfering with execution of the law, and they were going to pull their license and all these
Execution
threats.
of the
I mean,
law.
yeah, so they can't.
The law.
Yeah, right.
Wasn't funding just cut from NPR? I thought I heard something about that.
Yes,
Well, I think he
PBS.
wants to,
I got
but it's an
a message
executive
today.
order, so.
yeah, I got a message today that said Trump took the funding away.
Yesterday.
But I don't see how he can, I mean, these are executive orders. He can't.
But until anything more does.
I'm wondering.
Until there's consequences that, people are letting a lot of these illegal executive orders stand, and no one's, I mean, there are some court cases and the courts are trying to stand up a little bit against him, but he's just ignoring them, and I'm just gonna do what I want anyway.
Well, I conjecture that NPR and PBS were ready for this, and that they've
They
got
will.
legal team ready and working on it already. They're
Oh,
going
no
to
doubt.
do what they can do and see what happens. I mean, that's where we are with a lot of things. I mean, all the environmental issues. Well, that's where we are with those. And
But it's interesting. I think, Kay, you had shared that link to the World Press Freedom Index 2025. And I was kind of stunned. One of the points they brought out was less than 1% of the world population has free press guaranteed.
Hmm.
And the other thing was 85% of media outlets didn't have financial stability.
it's not good,
Yeah.
obviously.
And when it talks about, I'm just reading a couple more things as we're talking here, just I pulled up real fast. This is talking about in 1995, now look how long ago that was, Sinclair, which by then owned and controlled 13 television stations in 8 different markets, And usually their markets are in large markets like the one in Orlando and other places like that. So the area they cover is quite broad. And then one other little just tidbit that's enough to make you sick is just this last April 3rd, BlackRock Inc. has filed a schedule, I don't know what all these are, 13 GA form with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, disclosing ownership of so many shares. It's up to 10% ownership of the company. Well, if you look at BlackRock's history, you'll find some other things there. And the other thing is, if this has to go through the SEC, Trump has now put new people in there so that he controls what's happening with the SEC. So anyway, that's where 2025 comes in, because the people he's putting in all these positions and the people such as BlackRock, if you read more about them, they are funding a lot of things that he wants to get done. So anyway.
Yeah, I
When
think
is the bottom
BlackRock
gonna
is,
fall out?
doesn't BlackRock have connections back to Betsy Voss? I think it's her brother that does that.
They have connections to lots of unsavory things.
Can we pull in our congressman? I'm getting to be quite a burr under the saddle of Michael Bennett, who wants to who's running for governor. And I maybe we can kind of pull in our Congress people too and say, listen, we need some, well, I even bother Lauren Boebert regularly.
Good luck
To
on that.
get them to, well, yeah, and maybe, they've got that retired Rear Admiral
Yeah, Eileen.
woman who's going to run against Boebert.
Eileen Lobart, but
Yeah, pull in some of our legislators, because maybe that's what we're going to have to do, is fight through them in other words, not the executive branch, go through the judicial and the legislative people.
And has Beaufort's office ever responded to you?
Yes, but the form
Care if
letter
they
that somebody
respond or
who,
not.
with the form letter that
Rhetorical
somebody
question.
else wrote because she can't write.
Doesn't
Well,
mean you should stop, Diane. I think it's great that you just keep at it.
Well,
That's good.
and if she does something positive, like something for, rivers or water or that sort of thing, I comment about that too. So I have that email of one of her people. Of course, everything's filtered through the staff, but anyway, I think we can still comment to them and people running against them.
So I guess that means Trish Calvarese is not going to run again against her?
I haven't heard anything.
haven't heard.
There's somebody else I've heard that was. No, I haven't heard anything else.
Well, I don't want to get off topic.
Yeah,
you guys mentioned the one woman who's a rear admiral, whatever,
Mhm.
but Trish Calvarese ran against her the last time.
Right, and we're nonpartisan and we don't talk about political candidates, so
Right.
there you go.
Well,
I
we
don't
can
think she
say
does.
who's running against who.
Yes, we can talk about who's running.
That's all I was doing.
All right.
And I was going to say that I go with Diane. I am forever calling everybody. I don't just call my legislator, because one of the things they do is tally the number of calls they've had. And so, like, I called yesterday for everybody about the budget and explain why they shouldn't do the budget. How I encouraged them personally to vote, not how the league says. Because it's my opinion, that is what I tell them. And but if you want a list here, I'm sure everybody knows their numbers, but a couple people, I'd sent out a note from the Colorado Fiscal Institute about why it would not be a good reason to vote for it. And I sent that out to people, and then people said, well, I don't have all the numbers. So I put together a list of everybody's number in Washington, D.C. How do I give that to you? And you can put it in our stuff. It's nonpartisan because it has everybody on there. It has their DC numbers.
The at 5
So
calls has
when
it
we
too.
have calls to action, aren't those numbers there?
What happens is when you go in, it only gives you yours. It doesn't have all
Oh,
of them there. So
Yeah.
they ask you yours, and so people who want to call everybody have to go look them up. So that's the reason I put the sheet together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it'd be nice if the office would send that out. I don't know if they would or not, but it's worth a try.
And since it has all of them, it's not meant to be for one person. You'll
Right.
see there's no comments on it or anything other than their DC office.
Yeah.
It's a
And so you
one.
have a document or a spreadsheet
Yes,
or something?
I just did a
before?
document. I just picked it up. I'll show you. If you'll share with me in a second, I'll show you what it looks like.
Okay, so you can, I think you can you
Okay,
share
here,
screen?
let me just bring it up.
Try and see if you can.
That's what it looks like. It tells what committees they're on. Let's see if I can move it up a little bit. But it tells you who they are and what committees they're on and so forth. So you know, and that's their DC number.
That's great, Kay.
So, you know, and that way anybody can do any one of them. And that's why I was just saying I'd be happy. And if you can pick this up, or I can just email it to you tonight, whatever, to put into
Yeah,
this.
email it to me and I'll send it with the promotion stuff for the Sun thing.
And I think the thing that helps on this one that I found was that it had all their committee assignments, because then when you have a specific issue, you're talking to the person who deals with it especially. And that's the one I try to give more facts to, you know, is the person in charge of the committee so that they understand, or the people I think that have the least understanding, I try to give them the facts, you know, so it's kind of the two extremes. So anyway, I'll send that to you. Okay, I'll stop sharing.
And it's good to send them the facts because I have heard that from different people, probably not in Colorado, but in different states, that they will call their legislators and leave messages and they'll say, well, which news outlet do you listen to? You're listening to the wrong news. You need to listen to Fox or whatever they want to, I guess probably Fox.
really? Wow.
Yeah.
I prefer email because it can't get lost in a phone number, and it's a record that I sent it.
Yeah, and
So
if
I'm
you
a
ask
little
for a reply,
suspicious of phone calls, whether or not they ever get to somebody.
right?
This is just kind of a side, but I was in the state capitol in Missouri. And there was a staff person that was talking to a group of high school students. And he blatantly said he would never work or listen to NPR or MSNBC. They are terrible stations. In the Capitol, to a group of high school students. I mean, obviously, if one person's doing it, we're probably happening across the country. That's totally uncalled for. That staff person should not have been saying that kind of thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same attitude that regular people have. I know a person who was posting on Facebook, I don't know, like a few years ago, commending her husband for they had a doctor's appointment for one of their kids and they were in the doctor's office and CNN was on the TV and he put his fingers in his grown man put his fingers in his ear and was telling his child not to listen to the lies on the TV.
Yeah.
And she was posting this on Facebook as if this was such a brave and awesome thing for her husband to be doing in public.
Well, I hope his Medicare is taken away from him.
Really? Exactly. I was shocked. I was like, so you couldn't even bear to listen to what some other perspective is trying to say? Like you have to resort to being a toddler yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't understand. I don't understand. So I feel like the attitude of don't listen to this station or that station, like I think there is a very wide swath of people and they get elected to office who believe that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Well, we're up against some very serious barriers, and I went to today the statewide tour that's going on, talking to different groups across the state, and
Mhm.
that kind of thing makes me hopeful. But on the other hand, it's just such a force against us that we have to keep going.
this is
That's
Courageous
my
Colorado.
preaching. We have
Yeah.
to keep going.
So that was Courageous Colorado.
Yes, yes.
Were there many people there?
This was the virtual one.
Oh,
And
okay,
there were 20, I think.
okay.
I don't know about the attendance of the rest of them. There will be a report about all the things that went on across the state.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so I guess what we want to do is have and we want to have well, Kay and others are going to go to the showing of the Colorado Sun. What is it called? Stripped for Parts.
Yeah.
And we're going to see what that's like, and maybe we can show that to the rest of the league somehow. And then we'll try to get somebody to come and talk about open meetings law. And if anybody thinks that they have interest or time and they want to be part of the working group that's working on the open meetings law, send me an email and I'll make sure your name is added to the working group if you're interested. I don't know when we'll meet or anything like that.
Maybe
But
the
if you're,
fall or through the summer or what?
I think this is going to be pretty soon. We're going to have to start meeting. They need to take this to the title board, and I don't think they want to wait in case they have come back with single subject issues or something. Tony knows all
Yeah,
about that.
just to let you know, I'm the observer to the title board.
Oh,
No.
So what, I guess I'm a little confused. Is this gonna be a petition that needs to, how is it gonna go to the, how does it get on the ballot?
it
It's
has
not
to
a
be
referred
petitioned.
measure, or is it?
You have to have
That
petition,
it would
right?
be a referred measure. The legislators are not going to want to put that on the ballot.
So then doesn't that mean the citizens have to, we have
Yes,
to do a petition and
Yeah.
how? And we're trying to do this before November?
I would
No,
doubt that. I think, well,
it'll
anyhow,
be for 26.
the
For
only thing
26?
you can put on
Yeah.
the ballot in 25 would be financial issues.
All right, yeah,
Tabor governs that.
right.
And then, so it would be 26, but people are bringing in their proposals that will go on the 26 ballot already.
So this is a citizens initiative then?
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
So is
So-
Heritage Foundation gonna finance it? You know, that's what we talked about last time and nobody wanted to pay for it, circulating the petitions.
I don't know. The Independence Institute, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, Independence. Yeah, that was it.
I don't know.
They were the
how
only people we thought had any money.
That's it. And,
But the league was really involved, what, a couple of years ago with the, it was the abortion protection, wasn't it?
oh, yes, heavily.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Cobalt was, I think, the lead organization on that one.
Right. Right. Oh, and so also just a plug for tomorrow night, we're gonna have a legislative wrap up. So you can come and
Yeah.
listen to that at 5:30
Yeah.
and find out what we did, and maybe I'll be more eloquent then than I was tonight talking about open meetings and open records law. So, okay, well, it's almost 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to, people are going to attend that screening, and I'll try to promote it to the rest of the task force and in the newsletter. And that sheet that Kay sent me, I'll see if I can get, maybe we can put that in the newsletter too
numbers.
with all the contacts. And then we're going to have a speaker hopefully on open meetings law for our next task force meeting, and we'll promote it for the public too. And then we'll move on to these other topics. How's that? Does that sound like an idea? Does anybody want to be a co-chair? Why are you laughing? It's not painful. I'm very easy to get along with.
That's
Okay,
not the
well, it's
issue.
January 1.
That's not the issue.
It's called
Okay.
time. It's called time.
I'm trying not
Well-
to spread myself too thin.
That's right.
Yeah,
Good.
I think that's how most people feel, you know, you don't want to.
But there's
Oh.
a way to get help if you delegate a little bit of this and a little bit of that to this person or that person without calling them co-chair.
Okay. So
You can
I'm going
sneak
to
in.
assign. Okay, so, and then when we come back, we'll decide what else we're going to talk about. But if you guys want to research any of those articles, FCC or Project 2025, I'll try to send out some minutes, and maybe that would be a good topic, is to look into who
Yeah,
owns
Project.
our local newspapers. And that would be one topic, right? Isn't that what we want to know? And then Project 2025 and the FCC. How does that sound?
Yeah, and I'll see what I can find about Project 2025.
Okay,
I have
so I'll
to
put you
model,
down for
kind
that
of
one.
can think about it and how do you boil down? Yeah.
You just
I'm not
go,
sure I
you
want
just
to.
go into their document and you like, you just search for what they have to say about media, broadcast, print, that kind of stuff. And I'm sure it's in there because
Want to
it's
control
very-
everything.
the plan was very detailed and put out there for everyone to see and read and know.
Yes, it was.
But it was 900 pages, so you
Yeah.
know, people
What
did
Is
is
it.
there a
that, up
directory?
here? Yeah, it should
Maybe
be,
somebody has a directory of it now.
yeah.
Probably. I mean, I've seen some pretty cool summaries and stuff like that of what's in it, like outlines and
You can ask AI to help you.
Yes, I was going to say Chat GPT might pull that out of those 900 pages so that
Yeah.
you don't have to.
You
That's
can
why we have Chat.
Choose your AI engine of choice, you know, whichever engine you choose. I think it would be very effective.
Okay, all right, so we'll do that. I'll send out notes. I'll send out these links to all these articles I found. That might help you too, Diana, because some of those are about FCC. And I think that would be important in the Project 2025. Okay, good. So we've got our assignments. Anybody want another assignment before we go? Okay. Thank you for coming to the meeting. See you later.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Okay,
you.
wait. The next meeting I think would be on June 20th, I think. Right? Am I right?
It's a June 20th is a Friday, third
I was gonna
Friday.
say,
Well-
isn't the Leaders of Democracy on June 20th?
Okay, no, that's why I was thinking June 20th. It's June 17th is our next meeting, okay, at 4:30. Okay? All right, see you later, you guys.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
coming.